Welcome, one and all, to the first ever podcast episode of Business in the Village of Mamaroneck Today, with your host, me, Michael Murphy, current president of the Mamaroneck Chamber of Commerce, and my vice president and yours, and co-host, Jennifer O'Neill. The Mamaroneck Chamber of Commerce is a nonprofit membership organization established in 1917 as a businessmen's association in Mamaroneck. We are a thriving group of merchants, restaurateurs, professionals dedicated to helping and supporting one another for the good of the community. A special shout out to the executive officers and the board members, all volunteers, who work diligently to make the Chamber an organization that promotes and supports all businesses in the village of Mamaroneck. The Mamaroneck Chamber of Commerce will continue to work hard at following our slogan, keep it local. That is, encouraging shopping, dining, and hiring locally. So, our first show, Jennifer, where do we begin?
How about we start with the Know Your Village segment, and we're delighted to welcome our interim village manager, Chuck Strome.
Hi, welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for being with us, Chuck. Could you take a moment and tell us about your role as part-time interim village manager?
Well, the village is in the process of recruiting for a new village manager. The form of government here is the Board of Trustees and the mayor serve as the legislative body. They appoint a village manager who, for the most part, would be the person assigned to run the day-to-day operations of the village. So while they are doing that recruitment, they asked me if I would come in and help on a part-time basis. They have a deputy manager who's running things day-to-day, but they really would like me to look at some of the village's policies and procedures and things that they do that might, I can make some suggestions to make things a little bit better and hopefully make it a smooth transition for the next manager who's going to be hired hopefully rather soon.
Well, we're happy to have you. You've had a long and storied career as city manager of New Rochelle. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience on that larger stage and how it will be relevant to the village of Mamaroneck?
Well,
what do you want to accomplish during your time here?
Well, I'll start with the fact that although New Rochelle is 3 times the size of Mamaroneck, it is similar in many ways, specifically demographically. The communities are similar in their populations. They're similar in the fact that they're both Sound Shore communities. As the city manager of New Rochelle, I was there with the city for 33 years, was the manager for 22 years. It's a city, it's a bigger place, but what I think I can bring is some policies and practices and best practices from a city perspective that might not be known about by the people that are here in Mamaroneck or just haven't been practiced. And I'm really here to make recommendations based on my experience in New Rochelle on how things can be run effectively and efficiently. And I mean by that, New Rochelle was always very fiscally constrained. I don't want to get into too much details about property taxes, but long before there was a state property tax cap for every municipality in the state, the city of New Rochelle, lucky for us, had our own state imposed property tax cap. So I've been able to successfully, I think, at least navigate very tight budgets for New Rochelle, and I hope to be able to bring some of that knowledge to Mamaroneck. It's a neighbor of New Rochelle, and I couldn't say no when they called me up.
Well, that's good to hear. We're happy to have you.
Yeah, so just for the audience, if you can give them kind of a perspective, like what years were you the city manager in New Rochelle?
I started, this is going to make me look old, but I started in New Rochelle in 1989, and I was appointed the manager in 2002. And I retired in 2022 at the end of the year. So I was 20 years as the manager. I think I got that right. I can't remember, but I was there quite some time and longest serving manager in the history of the city. So I'm quite proud of that.
If there was one word that I could use to describe those 20 years in New Rochelle, I'd say explosive. We've seen the buildings coming up, and they're still coming up. So can you tell us a little bit about that and about how that is affecting business in the village, in the city of New Rochelle?
Well, it was an interesting thing. We had a problem that every time a project came before the elected officials, it became difficult because somebody's always against it and somebody's for it, and they had tough decisions to make. So we put in place a zoning. The city council said to us, we'd like to have development in the downtown. We'd like to have people investing in our city while maintaining the residential areas in the northern part. And it's controversial. Some people like the big buildings, some people don't. But the fact is, we made it attractive to developers by doing a form-based zoning plan with a master developer, and if the proposed development met the zoning requirements, it would go right to the planning board rather than have to go through the political end of it, which is a dream for developers because it made it like a 90-day approval rate. And so they've built a lot of buildings. The original goal was to have, they'll say if you put the people there, the retail will follow. That was thought of before Amazon and all this other stuff came about. So retail is very difficult to attract. New Rochelle's also a tough city. It's a long city, and sometimes it takes 25 minutes to get from the north end to downtown. So the buildings are up. They look nice. It's brought in tremendous revenue to the city because they're all paying pilots, which is a payment in lieu of taxes, but there's significant amounts of money that they're paying. And we've had, millions and millions of dollars invested in the city, which had never happened before. So I hope it continues. We're quite proud of it. But it is a city, and it had a city downtown, and that was a planning tool that they wanted to accomplish.
And we're a lot smaller here in the village of Mamaroneck, but we also have a vibrant Chamber of Commerce here. Great business community, not just the central business district here on Mamaroneck Avenue, but there's the industrial area, and there's Boston Post Road and other areas. So I'm sure you've had a lot of interactions with Chamber of Commerce in New Rochelle. And how do you see that translating into your time here in the village of Mamaroneck?
Well, Chambers of Commerce is very important. So, and anything that the village can do to help them and vice versa, there should be a partnership there. We had a good partnership with the Chamber when I was in New Rochelle. I have to tell you, this is a thriving Mamaroneck Avenue. I walk it when I'm working to get some exercise. And Mamaroneck's fortunate to have a central street like this that doesn't have a ton of empty buildings and empty retail space. So it's great to see that be as vibrant as it is. And the village and the chamber have to work together. I hope you have been, and if the short time that I'm going to be there, I hope we continue to do so.
We look forward to it.
Okay.
So, any parting words for our audience? I know you're going to be, well, actually, how long do you anticipate being here? Chuck, maybe that's a question you're not sure the answer.
Well,
But
the letter that I got said until a new manager is appointed. And that's a process that generally will take, I want to say, 3 to 6 months, more on the 6-month side because of the timing. They have not advertised for the position yet, and we're coming up on the summer. So I would imagine it's going to be mid-fall until the new manager is hired. So hopefully I'll be able to hang in there, not miss too much of my golfing activities, which is my primary retirement function, and be able to do some good things with and I have to say that people I've worked with over the last month, they're all very professional, and they want to see the village succeed. So hopefully we can work together and get some positive results.
we look forward to working with you too. So you're on the mailing list. We'll make sure you get to the next chamber meeting. We'll invite you to it and introduce you to many of the members. So thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Our first show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, we're delighted to have you here, the audience, on our first ever podcast, The Business in the Village of Mamaroneck Today. I'm your co-host, Michael Murphy, and my other co-host here, I'm your host, but your co-host is Jennifer O'Neill. We'll get that straight by show number 7 or 8. Anyways, in our next segment, we have Taste of Mamaroneck, where we're going to spotlight chamber member restaurants. And our first ever restaurant to shine the light on is Augustine Salomeria, co-owned by a husband and wife team, Mark Teixeira, not to be confused with Mark Teixeira from the former New York Yankees, and Brianna Myers. And our guest today is Chef Mark himself. Mark, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Well, I got to ask you this because I did a little bit of homework here. The name of the restaurant is more than just Augustine Salomeria, isn't it?
It's Augustine Salomeria and Pasta Joint, yeah.
And Pasta Joint. Why? Explain.
We were going back and forth with the name. I like the Pasta Joint. We're very, obviously, we're very pasta forward in the restaurant. But it was just too long to put on the sign. And everybody kept on saying, no, it's too long. So we just cut it down to Augustine Salomeria. It just has a better ring to it,
Can you tell me what pasta forward means?
Pasta forward. Well, I think our signature dishes at the restaurant tend to be our pastas. They're very fresh, seasonal. We're aggressively seasonal in that, you know, the only things that you'll find on our menu are usually what's in the market. So, you know, winter, we're sourcing from other places. But now that spring is here, you know, we're sourcing out of the Green Market, Larchmont Market, all those farms around here. So, but I think, you know, the pasta dishes in our restaurant are a big spotlight on our restaurant.
You're a wonderful restaurant that gives back to the community. You guys were involved earlier this year when the Chamber hosted Taste of Mamaroneck, where the proceeds of that event went to some of the food banks in the area. You guys were just involved with Feeding Westchester,
Yes.
helping to feed those that are basically food hungry, or how do they refer to it today? They call
Food
it
insecure.
Food insecure.
Yeah, food
Thank you very
insecure.
much. Tell us, how did you get into the business? A brief
A brief.
description.
Oh, okay. Well,
The salient important ingredients.
I got into the business because I was always in the food business. My first job as a young kid was in a bagel shop in high school, and I worked Saturdays, Sundays in the morning, and then I started baking as well, bagels during those times, and really got involved in the bagel business. I really enjoyed the bagel business, and I was always in the food business, so it was just kind of like a goal of mine to get into there, and I think my path was set when I was a young kid. You know, being in an Italian household, my mother was always cooking, and my grandmother was always cooking. Sundays were always a big day for us. My mother was always making the Sunday sauce, you know, and that kind of stuff, and usually making big meals that we would have leftovers all week, you know, because she was busy, and that was kind of the basis of my cooking education as a child. And when I grew up, I didn't really want to get into a 9-to-5 job. For some reason, I thought it was a great idea to get into cooking, and I did, and I've enjoyed it ever since.
It's
Great.
not a 9-to-5 job. It's an all the time
It's
job.
an all the time job. Yeah, I really enjoy it, and you know, especially when I was younger, you know, the hours and stuff. It was a fun time.
You'll be
So-
happy in the village of Mamaroneck because I think that we have now 14 bagel shops.
You do,
yes,
yes, and they're
yes.
popping up like
Yeah.
left and right.
Yeah, left and right. So
I always wanted to open a bagel shop.
Awesome. Why did you decide to open your restaurant in Mamaroneck?
That is a good question. I grew up in Ossining, which is on the other side of the county, and I've always liked this area, the Sound Shore area. You know, really, this street here was very attractive to me. You know, the town was very attractive to me, and I knew the area from when I grew up, and it was just this area kept calling me. You know, this area, Larchmont. But Mamaroneck kind of really grew on me when I was coming up here and kind of scoping it out. You know, the people here were terrific, you know, and I love this street, and I love the proximity to the water and all that. It was just a great area, and you know, the population density of this area, you know, and you have Greenwich Village and you have Connecticut close by, so. It was just very attractive, and I just fell in love with it.
you can even take the train.
You
Get
can even
off
take the
there.
you know, that was a
really
great
nice.
that was a great selling point, you
Yeah.
know, because obviously, especially in my business, getting help, you know, having the train right across the street is perfect, because I tell people, you know, you just take the train and get right off. So it was beautiful.
Great. And of course, we've got Mercurio's and Boiano's and
Yes.
Cosmo and Alex's. A lot of Italian roots in the village of Mamaroneck, and I'm sure we're delighted to have you here as well. Now, part of this of our segment within this segment is you, the chef, sharing a signature dish, dessert, cocktail. What do you got for us today, chef?
Well, we're sharing our Denarius cocktail. We have a new cocktail. It's a spring cocktail. It is dragon fruit, hence the name Denarius. I wasn't a huge Game of Thrones fan, but my wife was, and our bartender Sam was, and so they named it Denarius after the Queen of Dragons. So it's dragon fruit, vodka, a little bit of simple syrup, and lemon juice. It's absolutely delicious, really refreshing on a spring day. So
Perfect for the spring weather, and we'll be posting that on the Chamber
Yep.
website. We're delighted to have. Thank you very much for being here, our
thank you,
guest on
guys.
our very first show.
I have one more question, if you don't mind, Michael.
Sure, Jennifer.
Where is your restaurant located?
sure, it is 213 Halstead Avenue. right off of Mamaroneck Avenue, right across from the train station. A perfect spot. Just take the train right over.
Yeah, you can make it a date. You can go there for dinner, come to the movies next
That's right.
door, go to the
That's
M1
right.
Theater.
We got a lot of people going to the theater here and coming after.
Perfect. What a day. What an evening. That's great. So, Mark, thank you so much.
Thank you,
We look
guys.
forward to doing more with you.
Absolutely.
We'll be talking sometime to you in the future about Taste Mamaroneck being a week-long, invitation to people within Westchester to come to Mamaroneck to taste all of our restaurants. And I know that you'll be a part of that as well.
Absolutely.
So excited to have you here. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, and you're listening to the first ever podcast of Business in the Village of Mamaroneck with me, Michael Murphy, the current president of the Village of Mamaroneck Chamber of Commerce, and my co-host, the VP, Jennifer O'Neill. And in our next and final segment in our brief show with you, we have Meet the Chamber Board Member. And who's our Chamber Board member today? Please welcome Katerina Ularo.
Ulerio.
Oh, Ulario.
You almost had it.
Oh, it's just, I better practice. To the show. As mentioned earlier, Chamber Board members are all volunteers.
That's
Katerina's a
right.
volunteer. She works diligently at making the Chamber an organization which promotes and supports all business in the Village of Mamaroneck. We thank you for your service, Katerina, and welcome to the show.
I'm happy to be here. Thank
So-
you for having me.
First off, let's ask you. Tell us a little bit about your business. What do you do?
Of course, I'm a real estate agent in the area. I'm licensed in the state of New York and Connecticut, and I keep it local to Westchester and Fairfield counties. But I've lived here for over 20 years and actually ran multiple businesses before. So I've been a part of business community for over 20 years, mostly in Mamaroneck, but also briefly for 3 years in New Rochelle.
Terrific. Now, if anybody wants to, they can look up your information by going to the Chamber directory. Your contact information is there. But for those that are a little lazy and don't want to do that, why don't you tell them how they can get in touch with you?
Of course, you just have to put my name in any Google search and I will pop right up. It's Katerina Ulerio.
Ooh, that's great. Okay, so now since we're all Chamber members, board members, tell us why you chose to join the Chamber of Commerce.
Well, since I've been in the business community for as long as I have been, I think it's a must because it provides you with networking opportunities. You can meet other businesses, you can create different events together, you can meet a ton of different friends, and of course the chamber provides a bridge between the village and the business community. And if you're serious about being a staple and running your business successfully, you need to be a member so you can stay abreast of all the happenings.
Absolutely, and we support each other. Yep. Can you tell us a little bit about the chamber-sponsored Day of Wellness in the Village of Mamaroneck, which I hear is going to be happening in June, speaking of creating events?
I am so excited. So one of the favorite things to do for me always has been created events, and I have done everything from fundraisers to something like this, which I'm super excited about. So this event will take place, as you mentioned, June 15th from 1 to 4 p.m. It will be held at Fred Astaire Dance Studio in Mamaroneck, which is on Boston Post Road, and it will showcase all of the local businesses that have to do with health and wellness. It will be a good mix of shops like CBD shops and yoga and dance and music and pharmacies. And it's basically going to be like a little show and tell. And I hope that everyone comes in. It will be open to general public, and we're very excited.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
That's a great idea. So, yeah,
It was yours, Mike. You're full of them.
it's a great idea. Anyways, yes, because the Village of Mamaroneck needs wellness. We decided that,
Absolutely.
yes, right.
Yes.
So, we have anybody signed up as far as businesses that are going to be involved specifically?
We do, but I would like to keep it a secret until we have a full list.
So, where will people be able to get information
Yes.
on this?
The information will be posted on Chamber of Commerce, and we are working diligently to make sure that the flyer goes out to general public in about a week or so. And then you can go and find Chamber of Commerce, Mamaroneck Chamber of Commerce, anywhere on social media, such as Facebook or Instagram, and you should not have any problem finding us.
That's great. We can't wait. Now, tell us, what is the date and time of that again?
June 15th, 1 to 4 p.m.
1 to 4 p.m. It seems like it's about 7 weeks away, so mark it on your calendar. June 15th. More information to come. Katerina, anything else you'd like to share about what's going on in the village, Chamber of Commerce news, anything?
Well, I'm glad that we had a new village manager here earlier today, even though he's temporary. It seems to me, I did have a meeting with him a couple of weeks ago. Seems to me like a very knowledgeable and responsible person who hopefully will be a nice intermediate person until we find a permanent one. So that's exciting. The flowers are in bloom. Everybody needs to go out and enjoy this gorgeous weather.
Yes, beautiful day in the village of Mamaroneck. Well, thank you for being on the show. We really, and thank you for being a member of the Chamber of Commerce and for being on the board. So, well, that's it for show number 1. We thank our guest, Interim Village Manager Chuck Strom, Chef Mark Teixeira from Augustine Salamaria, and Chamber Board Member Katerina Uladio.
You got it.
Yes, and LMC Media for producing this podcast. Jennifer?
So, as Mike said, we'd like to thank you for listening to our Business in the Village of Mamaroneck Today podcast, our first one. If you're interested in learning more about the Mamaroneck Chamber of Commerce, you can do so at our website. We're always looking for new and interesting members. We look forward to seeing you at our events, which are always fun. Special thanks to LMC Media. This podcast was recorded at their brand new studio on the Avenue in Mamaroneck, New York. Please visit lmcmedia.org to book your time in this state-of-the-art, convenient location, walkable from Metro North train station on Mamaroneck Avenue. You can also support this nonprofit media center at lmcmedia.org/donate.
And also, I got to add that the LMC Media is a member in good standing of the Chamber of Commerce. The executive director is on the board. That's Matt Sullivan. What a wonderful studio. I heard it was built by Murphy Brothers Contracting. They did such a good job.
I think I heard that too.
But look, it really is. If you haven't been here, those listening out there, you've got to come here to see this. It's amazing. Beautiful. I love the logo. Isn't that great? Fantastic. Anyways, the Mamaroneck Chamber of Commerce will continue to work hard at following our slogan, keep it local. That is, encouraging shopping, dining, and hiring locally. For more information on how you can join the Chamber, visit mamaroneckchamberofcommerce.org. Thank you very much for listening in on this show here. We hope to see you on episode number,
Yep.
talk to you on episode number 2. All right, thanks again.